All platforms, man. Subscribe, like, comment. This is the We Outside Show. And we got our special guest today, the one and only Red Pill is in the building.
Yes.
What's good, King?
Man, just honored to be here. You dig?
The pleasure is ours, man. We gotta feed the people's minds today.
Well, that's why I'm honored to be here, to feed the minds, to feed the people. Platforms are to be taken serious by anybody that's out here doing work. I have a saying, the platform always wins. It's like they say the house always wins.
Oh, yeah.
So for anybody that's out here doing media and they open up the doors for a person such as myself to spread my information, my message, my likeness, and the movement and to update people, that's a good day. You know what I'm talking about? Like, that's a touchdown. So,
another thing too, this platform is not shadow banned, so we can make sure that we can make sure that you can speak freely over here.
We got some light.
Yeah, we got some light.
Right.
Beautiful.
They ain't cut us off yet. We're gonna see what happens by the end of this episode, though. So I wanted to bring you on because you do always have a lot of good information, and we were talking about this off camera. But when you're scrolling through the gram and through these social media things, it's hard to find unless you're really looking for it. So I mentioned the word shadow ban. You've been shadow banned a couple times, right?
Yeah, for many years now, going on for about 6 to 7 years. To whereas they've been targeting me and my brother, my twin brother, Blue Pillar, 44. Shout out to him. And then later on, my younger brother, KT the Arch Degree, he joined the Shadow Banning elite. Because real talk, they have us sort of like on this hierarchy chart where they have the misinformation dozen up there with Rizza Islam and Robert F. Kennedy, because they were the ones who that had the audacity to go against, the medical mafia. Can I say that on there?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah, okay, yeah, medical mafia, and they were banging against the quote-unquote biological offense that was being launched against a nation of unsuspecting and unwitting people who were programmed to believe men in white coats. But fast forward to where we at today,
Correct.
Evidence A, B, C, D, shows that something is definitely wrong. And we know who the culprits are. So when they finish with Young Thug and them and, dragging our own through the court system and making another martyr out of our people and stoning them, we need to talk to Dr. Fauci. We need to talk to them people in them white coats. We need to talk to them drug dealers who got our people hooked on them opiates, and they really out here pushing poison, the real pushing P. They out here pushing poison on people. Go watch Died Suddenly. I don't want to even get on the soapbox, but I'm just saying, it's not even me saying it at this point.
Right.
So my brother KT, he decided from a scientific point of view to just present information, not even to challenge anything. He just wanted to make sure that everything was out there for people to make educated decisions. And people such as himself, my brother, Blue Pills, and me, we've been shadow banned. We've been, kind of like, we can't go live, threatening to deplatform us. Really just a lot of threat and coercion from these platforms who I've seen politicized over the years, to whereas they started out neutral, now they serve purposes to censor. Now you can see that they serve purposes to get a certain type of truth out. But if it's too much truth, they stepping on the doogie.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? They talk about if it's too strong, they like, nah, it gotta be woke. Like it gotta have some cut on it. Like, you know what I mean? It gotta have agendas attached to it. Has to be approved by certain type of groups with alphabets in their names. It gotta pass through this filter system. But if it's just something coming from the heart of somebody who's like a macro influencer or someone who's a thought leader or somebody that they know is moving the crowd and got people, they could read the algorithms.
Right.
They know the metrics. We don't know the metrics.
Right.
They know the metrics. They could read Instagram posts, engagement. They could read metrics and all of that about, like, let's say when something like a George Floyd incident happens, right? Because these are all projects. They all go down as incidents. They collect massive amounts of data. When they beef it up and whatnot, what they do is they buy these media blocks. So for a 48-hour media block, something that George Soros likes to do and has the power to do, you basically control the networks. Right, so they showed you the clip where all of the newscasters were saying the same script, right? So boom, that's how the media block works. So the same way that people get all of their news from Reuters or Associated Press, in the media block, they basically print out a script for all of my marketers and people that are in online marketing and are out there. You know about the script, you know what I mean? You know about the copyright and whatnot. So they give the script, the same script to everybody, and then they just basically flood the news cycle for about 48 hours. They deal with, of course, the fear tactics. Mike Brown's case was a case study in how they did that, right? That actually launched BLM on a national stage, which was orchestrated, right, behind the scenes by some very powerful people who had agendas and whatnot. And they used that stage. That young brother was still out there with the sheet on him while people were plotting on how to politicize his unfortunate murder and whatnot to push their agenda. And they've done it on many occasions. Fast forward to George Floyd. Right. So they know, like, if somebody put a tweet out and then they get people that's angry, they could read the tweets and tell the temperature of the tweets. So they're like, oh, this nigga's a rebel rouser. He got the power to rile them up. Right. This other dude is a pacifier. He got the power to make them go shopping or buy something or vote. You know what I mean? Henceforth, into Cardi B's and them, how they bring in the influencers to do what? To pacify the people, to, you know, feed them cake. You feel me? And then they'll block the other voices because they know them other voices can ignite fires and whatnot. They could charge people up. And if you take control of the narrative, that's what they fear the most. Because once you take control of the narrative, you can take control of the conversation. Once you begin to take control of the conversations, you begin to implement what is the most dangerous things in the war of propaganda, which is ideas and concepts. That's the H-bomb. Right? So if I'm able to give you an idea and a concept that's contrary to your programming and what they taught you how to think and see yourself, if I'm able to switch your perception to make you see yourself differently and then make you see the opponent, you know what I mean, for what they really are, or have you see somebody else differently than how you may have initially seeing them. You might have been seeing them as a 100 feet tall giant. I'm able to shrink them down by showing you some shit that you probably was not aware of. So ideas and concepts are paramount in the war of propaganda. Henceforth, why they pay people handsomely to stay with the ideas and the concepts. The ideas and the concepts, they just continuously beat that into your head. They have $1 billion machine that does that.
So when I heard you say that, because we talk about programming all the time, and I talk about how, like, even when they had the killing of the young dude who got killed by the 5 black officers, when they actually released that tape and put it on Instagram, I felt like that was psychological control. They released that tape for a reason and allowed it to be showed on Instagram, because a lot of times when you see those type of incidents, they normally would either take it down. Like, I know this. I said this the other day. I put up 2 different videos. One video was the guy, he was getting beat by some black guys, was giving a white guy a whooping. For stealing in the hood. And then another video I put up was 2 white guys fighting in school. Well, Instagram made me take both of those down. And those were minor compared to what we seen when we seen a young black man lose his life to 5 black officers, that they allowed that whole video, even with Mike Brown and George Floyd, they allowed those videos to go rampant on Instagram.
Not only did they allow it to go rampant, but they actually have an in-house boosting system, They actually can boost videos to make them go viral. They have a viral boost inside of Twitter, That was exposed when they did the Twitter leaks post Elon's when he took over. And there's been multiple lawsuits against Meta, right? There's been multiple lawsuits, mostly against Meta, but there's been lawsuits against Twitter and whatnot because of how they're utilizing the algorithm, right, to create trauma, right, and how to create dis-ease, right? Dis-ease of the spirit, dis-ease of the mind, dis-ease of the emotions. They're been accused of ramping up suicides because they know how to tweak the algorithm to make teenager girls who are being bullied and whatnot feel like their life is not worth living. Or, they got shorties comparing themselves to Kylie Jenner and whatnot, not thinking that they can make it because they can't afford plastic surgery. Or young girls thinking no, I'm just saying, this is not just, this is actual court cases.
Right.
Against the same people who were shadow banned, the truth tellers, people who are making it plain and who are out here unplugging people from the matrix, but they like, nah, let's throw the block on homie. Let's throw, let's ban him, and then let's push this super duper scientific agenda, right? Keep in mind, these people are neuroscientists.
Right.
At these Silicon Valley unicorn companies and whatnot. When they went to MIT and Stanford and whatnot, they were studying psychology, human behavior, and the mind. They've been able to tweak these algorithms to control people in ways that has not been seen ever, right? They're collecting data. This is the surveillance society. It's a monopoly. It's a cartel. Right? They're surveilling people. They're selling their data. They're using the information and the data to do what? To quote unquote play these psyops on people the same way that they played a psyop during the election with Cambridge Analytica, right? The same way that they played a psyop with George Soros he was using BLM as his face, right? And in the same way that they're playing the psyops every time they upload Black Death on the internet. Keep in mind, right? There's been reports after reports that say that when we see, quote unquote, a person take their last breath,
right,
that's something sacred. You're not supposed to watch that on film. I grew up, we used to watch Faces of Death.
Yeah,
me too.
You remember that?
Too. I was just telling
that was our introduction to snuff films. Right?
Yep.
But something about Faces of Death, you was like, damn, once I seen it, I can't unsee it.
Right.
So first they had the monkey, they took the brains off, they took the head off the monkey, they was eating the brains, chilling like regular dinner. And then the monkey is moving and shit. I'm bugging. We in the crib on 40 ounce. This was back in the days, VHS days.
VHS,
right?
yeah.
Huddled in a room too. It'd be a bunch of us watching that.
You got somebody on the door making sure nobody come in because you can't even make too much noise. You had to huddle in the room and watch this on the low.
Yeah.
We didn't have like World Star. You wasn't seeing people dying. Fast forward to where we at today, you could see every single rapper that got bodied on the deep web, on Reddit and other places. They got photo albums of all of the crime scenes. Right? This is we're in a death culture right now. So in a death culture, the culture is death. Nas said that hip hop was dead. I'm like, yo, the shit is on its underworld cycle. After he said that, shit started getting zombified. So we're on a death culture cycle. Death sells, murder sells. Death is sticky and whatnot. And I say this, I'm gonna utilize this scenario so you understand how important the psyops that they're doing on our people. Before they were showing us Black Death on the internet, mentally, collectively, we was in a different place. I'm just saying, health-wise, the mental health of the people, the way people saw themselves, that was around Obama's era.
Right.
And then what happened in Obama era, Trayvon. That was the first ritual. They broadcasted that young man on the lawn in the position of the tarot card. Did you see his picture? We had his mouth open and his leg was crossed.
No,
I never seen the pictures.
The tarot card, the fall.
Yeah, I know what you're saying, but I never.
Trayvon's death picture. He's on the grass with his mouth open, That's what they had leaked it during this trial and whatnot. But what I'm saying about the trauma that they put forth during the Trayvon, I call it the Trayvon factor. 2012, right? The year of everything supposed to be the calamity and whatnot. The year, remember the end of the world. This is in February. This is in Orlando at the Magic All-Star Game. They playing it in the Magic Arena. Remember, Sanford, Florida, right down the block. At the halftime of the Magic, they got all of the black celebrities around the world all concentrated in this one place in Florida, right? And in the Magic Arena, right? During the halftime, this young man goes for some Skittles and some goddamn iced tea, and he has on a hood and whatnot, and he gets approached by a person of descent, right? He is of Spanish Jewish descent, right? And if anybody knows anything about their history, you know the role that the Spanish Jews played disposing of the Moors and how they used to be the army of the church against the blackamoors and whatnot when there was wars that were fought. So even in places like Florida, the Cubans who see themselves as, elite, those are like those Spanish Jews and whatnot. So the Zimmerman represents a certain archetype, and he's Masonic because of his pops. He kills a young man, you know what I mean? They railroad him. They put everybody underneath this fear campaign. They put everybody underneath this spell where your heart and your mind was tied to this young man.
Right.
They had black men saying, "I am him." They had everybody out there saying all of these things, but what didn't happen and what's supposed to have happened and what would have happened if we wasn't in a bizarro world is they would have spun the block on Zimmerman before the first week after he did what he did. We wouldn't have to even have worried about it.
Right.
Let Zimmerman would have been a black man, and he had did that to homie's son. We wouldn't have been talking about that. They would have that whole situation, because it wasn't taken care of, just based off of the disrespect and the whole everything that was going on in the beginning. I'm like, nah, the streets got to take care of that.
But even from our culture, the streets didn't take care of it. Now we living in an era where we're taking care of each other,
right?
Opposed to taking care of that situation.
That started a domino effect where they began to chip away at our rock solid image around the world, because you can't carry yourself around the world like you the biggest, the baddest, you him, right?
Right.
There's nothing fucking with you. Like you him. But every time they look up, you getting punked by civilians. You taking L's. Nah, dead ass. I'm saying it was a run. It started right there from 2012 all the way to where we at right now. We haven't really avenged. We haven't created any type of precedence, to back up what it is that we say that we doing. Look, when they ran over John Gotti's son, that neighbor no longer existed, bro. And nobody had nothing to say about that. They understood what it was because that's who he say he is. So he stood on what the fuck he say he's supposed to stand on. We not standing on business.
Right. Correct.
Even when it come to with the 12, I got talking Swahili and whatnot. Even what 12 was out here doing, they couldn't do that in the 70s. They couldn't do that in the 80s. They damn sure couldn't do that in the 60s. Niggas wasn't letting that slide. We wasn't on TV boo-hooing and doing. No, this is programming, and the media played a big part of it. They militarized the police. They leaned on our people. They kind of like did this whole psychological effect to whereas it's almost like kicking the hornet's nest, right? They riled us up and then they pulled out the hood and niggas start going crazy, right? And start bodying each other even more before the riots. How did that happen? How did everywhere where one of our people died who was not a martyr, right? They didn't die on some martyr shit. They died on some victim shit. Mm-hmm. And then they came and they politicized it. No justice they just cut checks. Mad billions was ran up in donations and everything. Nobody got paid for nothing. Nothing really came and happened. You got parks. Niggas got murals, settlements. It's almost like the spoils of war. You feel me? Like, you got the bottom of the barrel. You didn't even get the big bag. So it's like we don't get no and we want blood. Where we come from, we want an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth. The law of Harambe is what they call it. We like, because that's what we living on outside. That's what we living. That's what our culture taught us. So we're not even living for our culture right now. And then people outside is watching and they like, oh, these niggas is scared. We see chinks in the armor.
Well, yeah, because we'll do it to ourselves before we do it to somebody else.
So now, right. So now when you go around the world, people is treating our people a tad bit, not the same, but a tad. They kind of like, nah, I ain't buying that.
Yeah.
Whereas before it was like, oh, it was what it's supposed to be. Salute.
Right.
Love is love. People love to see us how we love to see them. You know what I mean? But I just feel that.
But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Don't you think that we play a role in the responsibility of the portrayal of who we are and how we're perceived in the world?
How is somebody else going to be responsible of your portrayal? What they say, reputation is number one. How could we put our trust in anybody who has never shown us they're worthy of our trust in about 100 years since they've been spinning since pictures been in motion?
Right.
What have they shown us? So it's like now that conversation has to mature into some type of action. We already had that debate. We had that lecture. We already decided, yeah, you're gonna fare better if you take your image and your control and your likeness in your hands, because we see where it has gotten us on the other end. So the scales are unbalanced. We have not seen what that shit looked like when we got it tipping the scales.
Right.
When we going crazy on how, and we want to depict you too. We're going to show you how we look, and we also want to be able to show you how you look, because you have fun with us.
Right. Because they always can show us a depiction of who they think we are.
So give us the opportunity to depict you through our lenses. But when we come and tell our story, don't ever in your life tell me what I can and can't say about my greatness or how I see myself or how I identify. Because y'all was like, identify is cool. What homie said, it's okay when I do it. Right. It's a problem when I say it, yeah. Right? So, I identify as God body. You know what I mean? Treat me as such, respectfully. And when I put that on camera and when I need the budget in order to show the world what that shit looks like, sign the check. Don't be biased, because if I came to you and was like, I need a budget to make me look more buffoonish around the world. I need a budget to make me look like a glorified fucking coon and whatnot. I need a budget to make me look like a groveling Negro in 8K 3D virtual. They throwing big bags at that.
Right.
And that's what people is signing up to catch those kind of, bags of shillings these days. You know what I mean? They're bunny hopping at the motherfucking, at the tennis court, like your man's in them.
All right, so look, we got to go to a break, but I want to transition into that when we come back, because we're talking about not only the information that we're being fed, but there's a new way for us to give information the way we want to, and it has a lot to do with decentralization. So when we come back, I want to talk about that. It's the We Outside Show. We'll be right back with Red Pill.
We outside.
Yo, you already know what it is. Your boy DJ Filthy Rich.
Yeah, it's your boy DJ Big X.
Hey, man, highly enlightened DJ Smooth.
That's right. And this is the We Outside Show. We are back with the one and only Red Pillar is in the building, a.k.a. Phil Moreland, a.k.a. we're going to enlighten y'all brothers today, man. Make some more noise for them. We still here.
Feel like I just did 4 years of college.
That's it, man. Listen, you're going to learn today. You're going to learn today.
I'm going to learn today.
All right, so we were talking before the break about being shadow banned, misinformation, the control of media, George Soros, all of these things. And I want you to speak more to decentralization now and the way that we're taking the handcuffs off of media and how they can't control it when it's decentralized, and how, some ideas that you have about pushing our narrative where they can't stop us and we can speak freely.
Well, it's really hard to, to kind of explain the importance of decentralization. The imperative behind being decentralized right now. I don't want to get too deep in detail to it, but I'll just throw it out there that control of media is control of the minds of millions and millions of people. It's control of the narrative. It's control of the ideas and the concepts. Nobody in America on the press side yields as much power as the New York Times. The New York Times will be the representative of Western man's mind, right? The New York Times is where all of the ideas and the concepts about this democratic Western imperialistic conglomerate coalesces at the NYT, at the New York Times, right?
Right.
Even this is old money that we talking about. This is East Coast money. This is old money. This is old America money right here, right? The new money is on the West Coast. That's Silicon Valley, right? That's the West Coast. That's the new money though. It's not the same. They don't have the same mind state. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who basically created the disruption, or they're the ones who are behind the disruption with this new technology, and the techno boys or the Silicon Valley boys, or this new money and whatnot. They came and they disrupted all of the industries of old money. Mm-hmm. They turned the hotel industry upside down with Airbnb, right? They rocked the taxi industry with Lyft and Uber. You feel me? Everything that they disrupted email, the post office, right? The landmark of American business and whatnot. They basically disrupted it with email. So this whole thing dealing with crypto, dealing with the blockchain, dealing with decentralization, that's the closest the man could get to sovereignty right now. If he talks about wanting to be off the grid and being a digital nomad and not being tied into a system and not having everybody follow you and your transactions and not being able to be spied on and whatnot, your every movement. Because think about it. The same way that you order a Lyft and you can see the car moving.
Right.
That's the same way that they watching you on your phone as you move around.
Correct.
They could send a drone after you. They could send one of their shooters that's wearing a black mask to pull up, and you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's that easy.
Yeah, they know your whereabouts.
These are third parties, though. This is like shit that you signed up for when you wanted to watch a video. Yeah, you agreed to it. You don't even know who these people are, and they got access to your location as you're in real time, as you're moving around. They know where you laying your head, bro.
Yeah.
Shit like that. I'm just saying sensitive information. So the days of being on centralized platforms is super done. And if you got motion, if you're somebody that's out here that has something to lose or something to risk, if you believe in any form of having some form of privacy, then the movement is a no-brainer. Blockchain, open source, they fear that. That's going to expose a lot of BS that's been going on in all kind of sectors and whatnot. Right. Because it's going to open things up to a level of trust economy and truth that the people who don't deal in truth.
So what I like to do is, when you say that you're talking about blockchain now, and I don't like to talk over people, because our audience is a young audience too. Yeah. Kind of explain what blockchain is.
So blockchain would be the technology that, cryptocurrency is running off of. Blockchain is a decentralized, quote unquote, algorithm that people can store anything from music to images to books to contracts on what is known as an open ledger. Right? But a ledger that's basically locked into the blockchain, so it's forever there. You know how they could scrub your videos off of YouTube, and they could erase you off the quote unquote centralized internet and take your videos down, take your page down, make it seem like you never existed? Well, with the blockchain, you could basically prevent that from ever happening, and you could put all of your stuff, all of your information, all of your content, which is worth something.
Was that like a
content is
safe
king.
deposit box?
It's like a digital safe deposit box.
Hey,
on top of that, and that's one use
He
case.
learning something.
It has multiple use cases, right? So the key word of today's conversation is use cases. I turn use cases into briefcases. You feel me? I find out what a use case is, and then I'll make a product or a solution based off of that, and then that's a briefcase.
So that's what we did. So, and that's kind of how I got tied into you. Shout out to my man Next. Shout out to Slice 9. You already know we pushing that heavy out here. Even with music, right? So when I was introduced to the blockchain and the metaverse, what we did is I built an event space in there.
Dope.
And that's how I turned it into a briefcase. So I have an animated series in there. I have a 24-hour radio station in there. This podcast airs in there. The We Outside show was in there.
Oh, fire.
So it's a content house. You know what I mean? And it's something that, it's a 5-story building that if I would have bought that in real life, it would have cost me millions and millions of dollars. You know what I mean? And we're able to do transactions and give media and entertainment on the blockchain in that building.
Right. So
no one can control it.
Right. Not only can no one control it, the initial investment on something that you would have had to invest in the real world or what they call the physical world. Remember, we're talking about bits versus atoms. Right? Atoms is the physical world. That's when everything coalesces and is what is known as real. But this is not really real because atoms are 99% empty, right? But bits is what's in the digital world. It's in cyberspace, right? That's what we're talking about. The digital economy, right? The economy where the numbers is in the air like in the Matrix. But a real economy because you could cash out in the real world. And you like, yo, you know what I mean? Money when you sleeping.
That's why I like to give use cases though, because when we talk like this, people get confused. So that's why I like to say, hey, okay, so let's use a use case right now, right? Because you do music.
Yes, I do.
Right. So I want to hypothetically, let's do this. If you could start your own record label,
right,
in a decentralized form,
right,
how would you run it, and how would you have your artists operate in that space?
All right, first and foremost, in a decentralized space, I will have what is known as smart contracts. And these smart contracts will be set up to whereas whenever anything happens with any one of my artists and is monetizing or is being monetized, right? The smart contract sets it up to whereas everybody in their team gets their PC right off the rip. The manager gets their 15. You know what I'm saying? Everybody involved gets their PC. Smart contracts also will eliminate artists being ripped off from their deals because they can't read what is known as legalese. But now with the rise of ChatGPT and other AI tools and whatnot, you could run all of them contracts and it'll summarize it for you. It will translate legalese into layman's terms for you. You feel me? So those days of people being gypped is literally over right now. People just not aware. They didn't get the memo on some Juneteenth shit. Right.
That's the point of this conversation.
They didn't get the memo. It's shit going down and people don't know because distraction is also a great tool in war. Like we at war. I don't know if people realize it.
Yeah, we are at war.
We in a war. We in the end game war. We're in a war. It's so much war going on that it's on multiple levels, right? There's a spiritual war going on right now. There's a culture war going on right now. There's an economic war going on. There's a biological war going on. There's a war against nature, or what I call the Nether rules. There's a war against terror, but not the terror that you think. Terra firma, which is the earth, right? Terra firma. You dig? There's war, there's mad wars going on. And there's a war inside that people is dealing with. So you gotta focus on getting that right, and then all this shit outside of yourself is gonna fall into place. But you gotta walk through these wars on some, I walk through the valley of, on some Inception shit. When homie was walking, all the buildings is falling down. He's just having conversation. Because he knows that he's programming this. You know, when things fall, that means things is rising up. So with all of the calamity and the wars and all of the rumors of war going on, that's just an indication that shit is moving. That something is rising, that something is changing. You know what I mean? That something is being born and whatnot. They're fighting an AI war in our face, right? Do you know the thing that's going on in the Ukraine? That's all drone warfare. They're fighting, Russia's getting demolished out there by drones. They're fighting a whole new type of warfare right in our face. It's not men on the ground. These niggas is playing video games.
But we worried about who's the top 10 rappers of all time list. Or we worried about what's the new what Rihanna and ASAP Rocky's doing.
I mean, to be honest with you, we should know how to balance that shit though.
Facts.
Because sometimes it could be so much real things going on that you sometimes got to cut that dope. You got to cut it with a Rihanna story. You know what I'm saying? You got to cut it with some foolery. You got to cut it with some Vlad. You know what I mean? And then get back to it, make sense of it, because everything is related. Everything is related. You know, it's all relative. And it's like, just don't get distracted by it. That's the thing. Don't find yourself in a fool's place. Remember, a wise man could play a fool. A fool can't play a wise man. You could play foolish all day, my nigga. But get to the getting. You know what I'm saying? Do the building and the destroying. It's just people are out here choosing the easy route.
Right. So now, let me ask you this, because we were talking about technology, right?
Yes.
And I have a nonprofit where I teach young black kids how to do mobile apps and build websites and that kind of thing. And one of the main reasons I do that is because I feel like our kids, black kids, are so behind when it comes to technology. 99% of that world is not us. So
Right.
how do we, knowing that we're less than 1% of that whole field over there, how do we get our kids motivated to want to get in the technology world?
I'm glad you asked me that question. Look, God did. Earlier today at the State Farm Arena, I actually did a demonstration, right? Around 800 to 700 kids were there, or children for that matter. And I debuted my one of my ebooks that was called AI for Starseeds, right? It's an ebook. I put it together, and it's basically dedicated to 10-year-olds all the way up to 100-year-olds. And I say that because the way that I put it together, elders could read it at 80 and 90 and 100, and it's so thought out and fleshed out that they'll be able to get an understanding. Oh, this is what it's about. So in this book that I put together, I'm not necessarily teaching them about how to make pictures on Midjourney. You know, I'm not teaching them how to play around with ChatGPT and help them to pass their tests. I didn't even get into all of that. I'm giving them the meat of the conversation, right? What is AI, right? What are the benefits of AI? What's the history of AI, right? Because my thought pattern is this. I would rather approach something by knowing the foundation of it and what it's used for and what it really is,
right,
versus what it's not, than to approach something and try to figure it out while I'm approaching it. You dig what I'm saying? I'd rather approach it with the knowledge of what it is, so when I get to it, I know what to do with it. Right. You feel me? Versus I get in a Ferrari or something, I'm just figuring out how to drive this shit while I'm driving it. Nah, it's gonna be two different experiences. So we're working on getting the foundation right. Know what this is, know what it's not. Know what the different types of AI is. You know what I'm saying? Know what machine learning is. Right. Know what deep learning is. Neural processing learning. Know what transformers are. You know, all of the lexicon and the lingo that they're gonna need. So even in the beginning of the book, I have a glossary.
Right.
No need to get to the back of the book and then you find out what the words mean. You've been reading them the whole book like, damn, I wonder if this meant. No, the glossary is in the beginning. We got your table of contents, and then I animated it. It's beautiful. I'm about to do an ebook because it's, moving pictures and everything. But right now, we are considered to be the 1%.
The less than 1%.
The less than 1%, but there's an advantage to that. I'm big on advantage, and I'm big on being on time.
Right.
Picture that we was on the flight that was gonna take us to paradise, right? And they was calling your ticket to get on the plane, right? You wasn't the first class that they called. You wasn't the second class that they called. You might have been the fourth class, but at least you on a plane, right? Mm-hmm. At least you on the plane. You probably didn't get here. You didn't get called in the beginning, but at least now you know that the plane is about to take off.
Right.
Your advantage is that you're early in the wave and in the game, and you could create anything that you want out of it to you and what you doing, right? You have that advantage at this point. So when the plane take off and when the majority of our people find out that there's a plane that took off, what do they start doing? Cursing the plane. You feel me? Because they're not on it, right? So now we are on time. This is 2009 when they put out a white paper for Bitcoin in 2008 on Halloween, Satoshi Nakamoto. They put out a white paper on Bitcoin. A white paper is basically a business plan. So when people read it, they was like, oh, this is groundbreaking, right? That goes down as the moment when things began to shift. That's a movement. It's not just about Bitcoin. It's a whole movement. It's about a whole different pole. The government used to be bipolar. But you have America, my bad, which is democratic. Then you got the opposite pole, which is China, which is autocratic, right? This is already an AI government. China is an AI government right now. They're an AI dictatorship. They use AI to lock everything down. Their AI is already quote unquote Skynet. They already got Skynet in China. Over here, they're fake liberals. They're westernized, so they do things a little more democratic. They're about sympathy power. It's a little bit different, but right in the middle of that, in the tripolar, is Bitcoin. And just Bitcoin I ain't talking about the coin. I'm talking about the theory. I'm talking about what it all represents. Blockchain, Web3, decentralized, off-grid, sovereign, to the point where the web is so lit right now. If you have motion, my genius, you could set up a whole community in the real world, right? You could buy an island right now and populate it and be lit. Watch OnlyFans turn into Only Islands. I'm throwing away a lot of gems tonight. I'm just saying, watch it turn into something like Shorty's is gonna be like, yo, we just getting an island. It's gonna be 10 of us. We gonna be turned by the membership, $5. They gonna Andrew Tate this shit.
Right. But even when we're talking about AI, it's like now that we're talking about AI in 2023, AI is not like new technology at all.
No, it's not.
AI been around for a while. Why such now the popularity in AI? And I always say when we find out about something, it's always too late.
Well, things have changed in the world of AI. There's been a few discoveries. There was a paper that they put out called Attention is All You Need. And there was also the implementation of something called Transformers. And Transformers was able to give rise to what is known as diffusion models. And diffusion models was a process to whereas they would take pictures and denoise them, right? The way that the way that the AI is creating pictures in Midjourney and in Stable Diffusion, it's almost similar to anybody who follows the Kabbalah and they say how God created the world. He negated, right? He denoised it, right? You feel me? He denoised it. God wanted to experience God's self. God wanted to experience himself. So he started with a dot. And then that dot created the whole world. That dot created multiple dot, multiple. You know what I mean? So that same process is actually taking place right now because all AI does is mimic, right? It's artificial intelligence. And people is upset and scared about this. No, nigga. We are supreme intelligence, and we're able to duplicate our intelligence in an artificial way through machine and other things. What's the problem? I thought the key was to fucking get a touchdown, nigga. Like I thought the idea was to to do things like that. So artificial intelligence is mimicking it. There's something called a Bellman's equation. The Bellman's equation is basically the equation that runs this whole AI revolution. But Bellman's equation is also mimics what you find in nature and also what was shown in Pavlov's experiment, right? In Pavlov's experiment, he was showing you with the dog and whatnot. People respond to reward and penalty, right? And in value. And that's exactly how they're programming the AI these days. It's something called reinforcement learning. So whereas the machines are learning, they're teaching themselves. But they have the way the machine learning is set up and whatnot is a reward and penalty system. So if it does good, they give it a Scooby snack. If it does bad, they you know what I mean? Bad dog, right? So as it stops wanting to get penalized, the machine becomes smarter and it learns how to win the game of chess, or it learns how to win the game of Go, or it learns how to pass the video game. So they literally have computers where they'll leave it on and they'll have the computer will be playing itself, but getting better as it's playing itself because it's learning in the neuron, the deep neuron network that it has.
Okay, devil's advocate.
Yeah.
You ever see the movie Megan?
I didn't see that yet, but I heard a lot about it.
You know the concept of the movie. You don't believe that is possible?
Of course, everything is possible.
Right. Everything is possible, right?
We live in a world of all possibilities and probabilities and potentialities. There's an alternate universe where AI is running crazy right now. Niggas seen it in their dreams.
Right.
You know what I mean? If they put it on a movie, if they put a Megan out there, then they're creating universes where that Megan shit really exists, because that's how they program.
That was my point.
You going to sleep dreaming about it and thinking about it, you giving birth to those worlds. There's a world where Freddy Krueger exists. There's a world where Jason and Voorhees exists. There's a world where Star Wars exists. That's why, and I definitely don't want to be hopping off of the subject, but that's why one of my main focuses, what really got me into this new wave of AI was my pursuit to disrupt the fantasy complex industry, because I feel that they have the strongest stranglehold on the minds and the hearts of not just our people, of people around the world.
Disrupt in what way?
I want to create my own fantasy complex industry. Fantasy complex industry consists of the cartoon industry, right? We don't own no cartoons.
I do. Shout out to the Roach Motel.
Shout out to the Roach
Check out the
Motel,
Roach
right.
Motel TV.
You're a disruptor.
You see the vibes. I'm a
Right?
disruptor, man. Holla
You're
at
a
us, man.
disruptor, right? But you understand that when we was watching cartoons, we know the power of the cartoons because the cartoons programmed us, right? When Road Running them was getting whacked, we was like, we gonna whack niggas. Like, you know what I'm saying? If they get in the way of us getting our reward, right? Because that's kind of how they was programming us in the cartoons. You know, all of the how Pepe Le Pew was sliding up on Shorty and what.
That boy was a sex offender, man. I don't care.
He was a stalker, bro.
Straight like that.
He's a real stalker.
He was a heavy
He's your first
stalker.
version of a stalker.
He was
Heavy
definitely.
incel energy, right? So all of these things, you know, G.I. Joe programmed me. Thundercats. I come from that era. I'm a 70s baby. So there was a lineup.
Saturday morning cartoons.
First, I mean, it was after school and then Saturday. But
Yeah.
the after school, this lineup, this was the craziest lineup. The niggas that watched this lineup helped
Thundercat.
shift the culture forever.
You about to describe me.
He-Man.
Yes.
Masters of the Universe, right?
Yep.
I watched that.
G.I. Joe.
Yep.
A Real American Hero. Voltron,
Yep.
right?
Transformers.
Transformers and Thundercats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the holy five right there.
Fact.
Everything is mad other shit, but that was it right there. My programming of how I shaped my reality. You think we wasn't dealing with G.I. Joe, Cobra Commander? Niggas was Destro. And Cobra Commander, you know what I'm saying? Like,
That sure was black to me.
and we was Duke sometimes. Like, we lived vicariously through these characters that were introduced to us. And then keep in mind the comic book industry. What was that doing to us when we was coming up? The storylines. You see it play out in the movies later on, but you think about the psychology of how they was lining you up. And then when you find out that these characters are based off of your ancestors, right? Batman is Anubis. You dig what I'm saying? Superman's name is Kal. You feel me? The L's, that's, you know, that's Moorish. You know, I'm just saying, all of these, I'm gonna hit you with this one. Professor X, right? The Svengali, the OG of the mutants, right? The big homie of them, not little mans and the big homie.
The biggest of
the biggest of the biggest.
Yeah.
And Magneto, the biggest homie of the outlaw mutants.
Yep.
Right? Malcolm X
And Martin Luther King.
Yeah.
Mm.
These were they were the muses that created those characters. You feel me? So they took our ancestral, quote unquote, motifs and our gods and whatnot, and they made them their superheroes and then fed them to us. And they took our modern day heroes, made them white, flipped them, and then created, you know, or preserved them, right? Put them into character form, right? Created archetypes out of them, and then gave it right to the people. They ate that up because they like, damn, them two is kind of familiar. That's how they was playing Martin and Malcolm against each other. Good and evil, dark and light. You know what I mean? Malcolm was going to destroy.
Yep.
Yeah, he was Killmonger, right, of his day. And homie was T'Challa of his day. Martin Luther King, right? The peaceful prince. So when we take back the comics, when we take back the toys, when we take back the video games, when we take back the movies, we could do a whole show on the fantasy complex industry and how we have to strategically, you know, I don't shame it. I'm not here for no debates. I'm just like, yo, you need your cut in that $1 trillion pie, because I want to train and program subliminally and subconsciously the world's children about beautiful stories. Because I don't have no malice in my heart. I'm not a propaganda. I propaganda for the good reasons, but I'm not here to try to shame nobody, or, you feel me?
Right.
Like, I'm here to show the love that's missing in the story, because there's stories that need to be told. There's heroes that we have that their names need to be said. They need to be lionized. They need to be turned into, fantasy, so they can live forever.
I love that, man. Well, look, we ran out of time. You know, really, we're going to have to bring you back.
Yeah, we got to do a part 2.
I ain't gonna lie. Yeah, because I'm loving everything. So I do want to thank you for coming through, dropping a lot of jewels, man. I think the audience learned a lot today. This platform is for this too. Like, we big on entertainment, but I want to add balance, or we want to add balance to this show. You know what I mean?
Edutainment.
Man,
There
I
you
just
go.
I just learned 100 new words.
See, I like that. See, look, and Smooth. Look, you left him speechless. This is our
100 new
co-host. He didn't even
words.
say nothing.
Yeah, he couldn't even say nothing. He was over there. He was
Shout out to Smooth, man.
Yeah,
You know,
but now
Yeah,
that's
it's
beautiful,
swelling.
man. So I want you to shout out your book before we leave one more time, please. That
I
ebook.
appreciate that. Yeah, hot off the press, you feel me? Hot off of the press, we are proud to present to you my debut book, my debut children's book, rather, and it is entitled AI for Starseeds. I didn't want to say AI for Dummies, right? But I ran across an article that said 250,000 children left the school system during the pandemic and have not came back, right? So that put a smile on my face. So I'm like, there's a lot of children out there right now that kind of need this game. They're advantageous. The advantage point that they have over children that may be stuck in a rigid system is by the time that system is able to shift, it's gonna be too late. So the homeschoolers, right, and the children with the quote-unquote behavioral issues, and the children that can't read and whatnot, and the children that just want their ideas to come to life and shit like that, and they don't want to pay attention to somebody lying to them all day. Yeah, come over to Death Row, little nigga.
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, come sign in my label. I got a book for you. That'll be your first manual, and there's many other more books to come. This is book 1, AI for Starseeds. You know, and we're gonna teach them how to become artificial intelligence entrepreneurs from 10 up. We giving them the source and whatnot. That's available. I got it on Gumroad right now. Put Red Pillar, and that's AR, you know what I'm saying? PILLAR, and you'll see the collection. AI for Star Seeds, or put AI for Star Seeds in the search on Gumroad. You know, those of y'all that's out there killing it, y'all know that Gumroad is a very powerful platform, a marketplace to get really to it, from creating digital assets. That's how you get to it and whatnot. And then we also have March 18th. I'm linking up with Black Magic 363. That is a huge platform. And we're doing a workshop entitled Masters of the Universe: How to Utilize Artificial Intelligence to Become a Digital Entrepreneur, right? And that's going to be on March 18th, which is a Saturday at noon. Go to Eventbrite and put Masters of the Universe, put online events, Masters of the Universe. That's going to pop up. You need that in your life. We're giving away thousands of dollars worth of game for a small ticket. And after that, 40 AIs in the mule. Yeah, that's gonna be the course. I'm releasing that to all of the course platforms.
That's all. I love it.
So look, what we
going back to school, to his school. So look, we're gonna make sure we put all the links to those in our description too on our YouTube page, which we will not get shadow banned on, because if not, just come to the metaverse. We're gonna be airing in there too. Y'all know the vibes, man. This is the We Outside show. We outside, we inside, we everywhere, man. Shout out to Red Pillar. I am DJ Filthy Rich.
Yeah, this is DJ Big X.
Hey, man, I'm a newly educated DJ Smooth.
That's right.
That's right, man. We out of here. We'll see y'all next time. Once again, subscribe, YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, all platforms. We outside.